Shall we begin?
Hello YouTube friends, Ben Ochart here. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And today I want to talk to you about my 5 best money-saving tips regarding filtration. You know me, I love lists, I love giving you tips, and these are things that I've come across. I've either stolen from other YouTubers or friends, or I've stumbled across them myself. So let's get into my 5 best filtration money-saving tips. Let's get into it right now. So my first money-saving tip is don't fuss with your filters too much. Don't over-service your filters. That can create just sort of a cascade of problems by messing with your filters too much, killing off too much beneficial bacteria, and also creating a lot of wear and tear on your filters that is simply unnecessary. So my first tip for saving money with your filtration is to really kind of listen to the filter. And the filter will tell you when it needs to be serviced. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a hang-on back filter, for example. It has channels. It has channels usually that will show you when there's an overflow. When there's water traveling through those channels. And you can see here, for example, on a Marineland filter, when you see water coming down those channels, you know that you're getting some blockage. You don't have as much flow occurring in the media, the sponge, or whatever it is that you have in there, and you need to service it. You need to pull those things out and either replace those cartridges or rinse out whatever media you're using and put it back in. Before you see that, you shouldn't be touching or messing with that filter. When you're working with canister filters, you'll notice that the flow is a bit reduced, the pressure is a bit reduced. Maybe you're noticing a bit more detritus on the substrate, on the bottom of your tank than you would normally. It's not being sucked in, it's not being absorbed. You'll learn what to look for, and these things will tip you off that it's time to service the filter. Once you have that timing down, and if you keep a log, like I've recommended in some of my prior videos, if you keep a log on your servicing, you'll start to get kind of a feel for the amount of time that you need to go between servicing. Of course, that can change as you add more fish or take out fish. As you add other filtration to a tank, that time span can change, okay? But definitely don't over mess with you. You'll put wear and tear. You'll wear out those O-rings on those canisters. You'll just do things that are unnecessary. You'll waste time and you'll waste money replacing filter media before it needs to be replaced. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, cut your own sponge filters. For those of you who watch my videos, I even mentioned this in a video just recently. I cut my own filters. I'll use the cartridge that came with the filter for the first go around, and then I'll go ahead and use it as a template, and I'll just start cutting my own filters. Now, if you don't want to cut your own filters, if you're lazy, there are companies, I know Swiss Tropicals, if you send them some measurements, they'll cut filters for you, and they'll send you some of those nice Porit matin sponges that Swiss Tropical sells. You can buy big sheets of pond filters on eBay and just cut those to custom fit your needs, whether it's inside of a hang-on back or a canister or any kind of filter application, really. So avoid the repeated cost of buying expensive cartridges. Very often these companies, they're sort of like office printers, where they sell the printer for nothing because they make the money on the overpriced cartridges, ink cartridges, that you have to buy or else you can't use the printer. So don't fall for that. Cut your own sponges. You can buy those. You can find them pretty easily on eBay. And that's where I get them, under the name pond sponges. Okay, be sure they're for fish. Don't just buy foam, because some foam is treated and has chemicals in it and can be deadly to your fish. So be sure it's specific for the application of ponds or aquariums. All right. Next one is, and this one you folks will have some, I'm sure you'll have some comments on, but for the price of an expensive filter, like an expensive canister, a Fluval, an Eheim, something like this, you can pick up 3 less expensive canisters. For example, let's say you can pick up 3 404Bs, Sun 404Bs, for the price of, just as an example, a Fluval FX6. Okay, now I like my FX6. Admittedly, I've had some difficulties with it, and I'll post a link to to my Fluval playlist. You can see the kind of things I've been through with my Fluval. Overall, it's a workhorse. It's a very heavy duty, perhaps one of the best canisters out there. However, you can pick up, for the price of that, you can pick up 3 Sun 704Bs. You can use 2 of them, which will give you just as good as a filtration as one as that one FX6, and you can have a 3rd one that you have just as a backup, or you can use it for parts. If you want to cannibalize it, if anything ever goes wrong with the other 2, you've got this other one that you can pull an impeller off of, or an O-ring, or just you can cannibalize it. So you get 3 for the price of 1. So consider that. Consider that. Now, if money is not an obstacle, you don't care, buy 3 FX6s. I mean, if that's in your budget. For a lot of us, though, it's not. And on a long term, being a bit frugal, 3 canisters for the price of 1, that's not bad. My next tip is, instead of expensive bioproducts, and by that what I mean is the biological filtration products that are out there that are expensive. Your Matrix, your Biohome, your things like this, your Marine Pure, your Brightwell. I mean, there's some expensive products out there that you can put into your tank. They're all good. I mean, I've had good results with a lot of them, and you know me, I'm a fan of Biohome. I like Biohome, but I'll tell you something. If you're on a budget, you should consider something like breaking up some lava rock, or maybe pumice, plain white garden pumice. I've got some of that in my Fluval FX6 on my 100, and that tank is very stable. The fish are very healthy. It does very, very well. So you can pick up like a 25-pound bag, like a massive bag of garden pumice, and use some of it in your garden, and also use it as filter media, and you'll still save money over 1 can of Matrix, which Pond Matrix, which some claim is the same thing anyway. It's just pumice, a volcanic rock, similar, not as rough, but similar to lava rock. So instead of expensive biomedia, consider using alternatives that some argue are just as effective. Again, sponges. Some people run nothing but sponges. So if you were to, let's say you had a canister filter with 3 trays, or even 4 trays, you could divvy those up depending on the water flow, on the direction of the water flow. Okay, you could have your coarse, your medium, and your fine, all sponges, and just have an all sponge filter. And you know what? You would have a lot of beneficial bacteria in there. So something to consider. So another tip is for buffering. And very often a person will spend a lot of money, like I have, and buy 100 pounds of aragonite, or 100 pounds of crushed coral, which can be very expensive. Why? Because I want something that's going to be slowly releasing magnesium, calcium, minerals into the water to help with buffering, to help make that water a bit harder and to give me a stable high pH. You can actually do that by using a very old school trick of just getting a mesh bag, one of those micron mesh bags, and just putting a couple handfuls of crushed coral in there and putting it into your filter. Then you can use something like play sand, inexpensive play sand, products that are very inexpensive compared to aragonite or crushed coral, and you'll get a very similar benefit because that water is going to be running through that crushed coral and pulling minerals out of it. Okay, so consider something like crushed coral. Also using something like limestone as a decor. Limestone is apparently very good in an aquarium for providing mineralization, adding minerals to the water. So those are my tips, and I hope you find them useful. If you have any tips on how to save money with filtration, and I know some of you are going to say, well, just use sponge filters. Sponge filters are great. Some people don't like the aesthetics of a sponge filter. Some people like keeping 2 or 3 in their tank because they can pull one out and immediately start up a quarantine tank like I talked about in a recent video. So, but I'd like to hear what your tips are. What do you think would be great ways that will save money in filtration, but at the same time produce the results that you want, which is a healthy ecosystem for your fish to live in? So comment below, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your tips. Remember, we all learn from each other on this channel, and be part of that Convo Gang, right? And comment below, and don't forget to hit that bell so you get notifications, and subscribe. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are appreciated, my friends, and I hope to see you on Saturday at the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. All right? Thank you so much. Bye-bye.